Yo, so I'm gonna record a video now talking about how the best entry approach and the best way to go top-down analysis. So in our example today, we're gonna start. So here I have a whiteboard. So it's 4 hour, 1 hour, 15.5. So in order to place a trade, you pretty much need to go through all all the time frames. Once you get them, mark them down, and you just go here and place it, right? Because the easiest thing is to click buy or sell. So we're gonna begin on the 4 hour. I guess you can take a look at the daily, but you'll only really take a look at the daily chart once in a while, and in certain special circumstances. So in our case, we had a few PSPs at the all-time highs over here, like last week, and then we started that started our move to go lower. And then followed with the daily PSPs, we had a few weekly cycles at the very, very high. Uh, but other than that, now we're going to go down the 4 hour and begin our analysis. So we're going to take high to low and just try to get understanding of the draws in the 4 hour. Because without a 4 hour draw, we will be unable to get our 1 hour draw and so on and so forth. So, all right, so here we go. And throw 75 in there. All right. So looking at this 4 hour chart, right? So we can go ahead and put it to 2 a.m. And this is what we pretty much saw going into today, Thursday, August 21st. So we had the SMT reversal at the very high. I don't believe we had a monthly. No, we didn't have a monthly. We just had weeklies and daily PSPs, which is enough to reverse price, honestly. Then we had True Week open when we ripped lower, along with True Month. Now, we have True Week with True Month up here, and we rip away from it so aggressively on NQ and ES that the only way that we can keep price lower is if we have the Dow stay up there. So that's how you can see the Dow just consolidates and stays above that 25% up there, while NQ and ES start their expansion lower. So yesterday was Wednesday. We had our full expansion down to 25, so all the way down here. And then ES still hasn't gone down there yet, but that's pretty much what we see in the 4 hour. Now, what's our draws? So, of course, we can have a pullback. Our pullback would be quite aggressive if it needs to return back there. But if we look at the daily chart, it would mean we'd have to go back into this gap, which I didn't find that too probable, as that gap is a PSP with Dow, and Dow still hasn't hit this daily gap. So now going back in the 4 hour, well, you can already see now it expanded, but going back in the 4 hour, pretty much the bias for today would be bearish. The only way you could have a bullish 4 hour bias is if we swing lower, create some kind of a weekly cycle, and then on the 4 hour chart, we dip like over here. We swept the body. Here, didn't sweep the body, so you could take something like this if we have it later on in the AM session. So, but all in all, bearish 4 hour. I don't really think there's any way you can get this wrong or somehow think it should be bullish. It's near impossible. And then you can see all the new week nitty opening gaps stacked on the S at the on the Dow up there. So pretty much that marks off our 4 hour to go lower. So here's our whiteboard. Um, we can put a check mark or I guess a lower sign on there. All right, so down arrow on the 4 hour. Bam. All right, moving on to the 1 hour chart. So 1 hour chart. Um, what do you see? All right, so we have 10 a.m. Wednesday low across the board. We had a weekly cycle Monday to Tuesday, which sent us lower and confirmed the true week. And then we see all these bodies and the candles closing below true week, which is also pretty important. Um, from the looks of it, the 1 hour looks pretty bearish, right? Bearish. We need to take this low out on the Dow. The only way that we could be bullish is if we take this low out and then we create weekly cycle. But for that, we would need to see, you need to watch the candle that, you would need to watch the failure swing candle on NQES. So here's 5 a.m. So let's go to realistic 8 a.m. And right here is the sweep. So here's a 6 a.m. candle. And it also creates a PSP. So when this candle was swept below, right, you can see that NQ and ES, which are the failure swings, both got swept literally the next candle or in the next hour. So this creates a very low probability weekly cycle, which it's still a weekly cycle with a confirmation. Well, it still needs its level of confirmation, but this just means that it's going to be a poor weekly cycle, which obviously later on, if more confluences are included, it could pull all the way back, but it shouldn't. So now let's skip 1 more hour, go to 8 a.m., and then we can just see a lower drop. And so far what we see here, if we confirm that the weekly cycle failure swing has been breached and we close below aggressively, it's, in my opinion, and I believe this is more of a factual thing, that we can't really see this weekly cycle be bullish at the moment. So you would have to mark it as down on the 1 hour chart. So now you have the 4 hour and the 1 hour pointing lower. And the only possible way we can reverse now is if we somehow have like a daily cycle, or we have like 290 minutes back to back or something like that, right? So we have the 1 hour and the 4 hour both saying bearish. So now we go on the 15 minute. So if you look at the lows, the 15 minute has literally nothing at the bottom. We had a PSP on the 15 minute to low here, but let's be realistic. That's nothing in this case. We have a Q4 Q1 daily cycle at the highs right here. So you have that cherry on top of everything else. So we can just write D. Okay, or not. Right, D for daily. Daily. So you have daily cycle, right? And then after that, no 90, right? Just the daily cycle. And here's the biggest takeaway. Look at the time when this daily cycle was. So right here is midnight open, right? The daily cycle was yesterday PM session. So we pretty much had a daily cycle right here, bam, and then another one. So back-to-back daily cycles yesterday in PM session, and then so far nothing today. Let's skip to 9:30. So this is 9:30 currently. So what are we looking at right now? We have no daily cycle at the lows. We have that weekly that was breached completely, remember? 15-minute is not telling us we okay, we're bearish, absolutely we're bearish, but we don't look for entries on the 15-minute, and there's also nowhere to enter. Like, where are you gonna enter? Either this gap, right? This gap is realistic, or if we sweep some highs there and go lower, or like if it turns around right now and just goes straight down, then I mean we have no entry. Our analysis is that it should be bearish, but we just have no entry. So we can definitely say we're going lower on it, but there's no entry, and that's fine, I guess. We're not looking for an entry. All right, so now we're lower on the 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15-minute. And we literally have to, like, this is the most difficult part. Okay, I claimed lower on all three. I need to swear by that and not switch up. I can only switch up on my day ones. I can't switch up on my bias. So now we have 9:30, right? So look, if the 15-minute, if we cannot go below the 15-minute, then we have two options. Either we drop to the 5-minute and try to look for some other confirmation, so like a 90-minute cycle that's going to send us lower, um, or we stay in the 15-minute until it verifies us and gives us enough to be able to have structure. So let's go on the 5-minute. Okay, looking at the 5-minute here, we have 90-minute highs right here. True New York just got dropped and nothing on the S&Q. We have new day opening gap up here. True day. And so point is this. Okay, there's 9:30. Okay, 25. Okay, here's 9:30 drop. All right. So 9:35 is in. We made a wick, swept the low on all of them. There's no entry because, right? So 15-minute, we agreed that was bearish, right? That's fine. But on the 5-minute, although yes, we can still say it's bearish because right here we had sort of, no, that's not even that. It's just a partial. Like there's no entry at all. So we would have to wait for something to happen. Um, we can mark off the, there we go. So we're gonna wait for our orb. So there's 9:35, and there's 9:45. Okay, so there's our range. So 9:30 just ranged. All right. So pretty much goes to show that there's nothing on the 5-minute, and for us to be able to take any, okay, also here's a big takeaway. If you go on the 15-minute, there still is nothing. We just swept the low on all three of them. I guess not entirely on the S, but Dow's running lower, right? Because it was at an extreme premium, so it needed to just rip away, which makes sense. But ES and Q still have nothing on the 15-minute. Now, this gap that we talked about got hit, so we have that right there. But other than that, still no manipulation at all. And we had news at 8:30. It created very little manipulation. See, it didn't even create any SMT. We just kind of stayed in the same place. So there, you cannot enter anywhere here right now because, first of all, the 15-minute is denies you from dropping down now on dropping down time frames because I mean, look at this, higher, right, and then bam, bam. You can't do anything with this. And then the 5-minute, this okay. Here it is. So this candle the 9:30 candle created the low in order for us to have 90-minute cycles. So you see we have a bullish 90. So here's that low. And then the low got swept again on ES. I mean on the Dow. So we went lower low, higher high in MQ. But okay, so this would be a buy, right? But how are you gonna buy on the 5 minute if we just said 15 minutes bearish, 1 hour is bearish, 4 hours bearish? Right. So then you're kind of cheating yourself out. So that brings us to now we just have to wait pretty much and wait until the 5 minute is bearish, right? We see something bearish on the 5 minute, or like 15 minute also has to be bearish, right? So you need to wait for the 15 minute to confirm, and then as well as the 5 minute, right? So all of a sudden, 9:45, we sweep the low, and this is a 5 minute PSP. Okay, 5 minute literally looks like nothing. It just chopped. It's PS. There's a PSP at the low, which looks like a bullish PSP. This really doesn't get us anywhere. So still nothing. 15 minute closed lower. Um, this is not a PSP. We pulled back into the gap, extended lower, but then remember we had no manipulation in the entire day so far. So okay, so but we can at this point you can confidently say 15 minute is bearish. Like we need based off of this chart that we are going to be bearish to these lows. So that's fine. That's confirmed. But then we drop to the 5 minute, right? And here's that previous candle close. We drop to the 5 minute, and we're waiting for some kind of an entry short, right? Or some kind of a crack on the 5 minute for us to be able to enter or be able to see something to go lower. And on the 5 minute, we use the orb. So the low 9:30, the high. So right here, we first purged it, went lower, created this really weak. It's a microcycle SMT, and it's just a 5 minute SMT, but it didn't really get us anywhere. And right here, we have a 5 minute PSP, which was bullish, right? It closed green, but it still got swept somehow. And then on Dow, it was a down close and it rallied. So that's another dead giveaway of current markets. You shouldn't be in this. Okay. So we're pretty much waiting until we see the 5 minute give us some kind of correlation, some kind of a sweep or confirmation for bearishness. Because right now we want lower, like right here. This isn't an entry bearish, right? It's 9:45 close. We had no manipulation in the second half of the day still. We didn't hit true New York. We didn't hit true day. We didn't hit anything. Um, and then if you go on the 1 hour, well, 1 hour closed lower, right, at 9 a.m., but at the time being, it was bullish and it was very upwards while that was running lower. Okay, so there is 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. we had a news driver and it sent price higher. Then we had this on the 15-minute chart. We had this 15-minute PSP got swept in the low, while this PSP held still. And this is a pretty clean, something clean to see on the 15-minute for bullishness. So the 15-minute is now out of sync with 1 hour, 4 hour. So at this point, we still can't take anything. 5 minute is a complete mess. So same thing on the 5 minute. We have 90-minute hidden. We don't have 90-minute hidden. We don't have anything at the lows except for a microcycle and that 15-minute PSP, which is enough for a very, very short scalp. So like if you entered literally at 10 a.m. right here, somehow pulled this off, it would work. But all in all, still nothing. So you would just have to wait, continue waiting. So now we wait. Okay, so we officially hit true day on NQ. All right. So we hit true day. We dig into the new day opening gap, and at this point, our 15 minute is our 15 minute satisfied. Okay, so we have our literally our very first crack of the day. True day and new day opening gap, while no true day new day opening gap here. Um, and then this is also after the news. So at this point, you can say, okay, the news was bullish manipulation because from here on out, it should only either expand, continue to expand, or just reverse the rest of the day. So, all right, so you have the 15 minute down. Now we can go on the 5 minute. Also, 1 hour, if you peep the 1 hour, um, we had this SMT with the bodies, but again, you can't enter on this because the 4 hour is bearish and there was no structure for a buy. But what is clean about the 1 hour is that Dow right here got it back into this gap, did its thing. ES also got into that gap, but it didn't hit true day, it didn't hit new day opening gap, while NQ did. So the 1 hour, in this case, the 1 hour continues to be bearish, right? Because at 6 a.m. we ignored that. Um, we ignored the weekly cycle from there, and the 10 a.m. like any move upwards would just be considered manipulation if our 4 hour and 1 hour are bearish. So 15 minute now, we hit true day, new day opening gap. So you would have to trust us. It's pretty hard, but I mean, if you waited for that long till 10:30, you probably have the ability to. And true day is by the way, true day is midnight. So midnight opens pretty powerful. Um, Drop on the 5 minute, and then we can see these both of these two candles right here are PSPs with the Dow. So we have 5 minute PSPs finally inside of a new day opening gap in true day. So this is the very first time you saw anything be swept today, any level of manipulation. And even to this point, we don't have any SSMT other than the true day and the new day opening gap. As well as, by the way, Dow didn't hit true day or true week or new day opening gap, so that one and ES would be the ones to create the failure swing. And in this example, if you see the failures, the one to the higher high was NQ, and this is like pretty much the candle that we're claiming is the highest candle because it's the one that created the high. So the failure swing is technically ES and the Dow. So if you peep the failure swing on Dow, which is this candle right here, you can see we didn't sweep it again. So that's really important. So now we just go next candle. So like okay, so now we're bearish. We had a pretty nice drop. Still no place to enter on the 5 minute, but we can confidently say that the 5 minute is bearish. All right, finally a pullback. So now 5 minute is bearish. We hit true day. We hit new day opening gap. We're back into this opening range. Um, Pretty sure we hit. Yeah. A big takeaway is that we just barely touched range on Dow, while NQ and ES both dug 25, and NQ almost hit halfway. So now we go one more, and now we hit this gap and pull lower. All right, so now we can finally state at this point we have 5 minute structure, right? So we hit through day, we see an SMT. This is pretty much SMT on the 5 minute. We finally fill a gap, and it's 10:45, dude. And now at 10:40, we can finally mark it off and say that we're bearish on the 5 minute. All right. So last but not least, we look to enter. So can we enter right here? It's either right here. Okay, so let's go on the 1 minute. So we had this nice gap, right? Okay, nothing too special, but this definitely would be an entry opportunity. So let's go ahead and see. Okay. All right, so we pull back higher. Right now, we didn't take it on Dow. Let's check how the 5 minutes looking. All right, so bullish candle off this fair value gap, which we're treating it as manipulation, right? Because from the 4 hour down to the 5 minute, we're all bearish. So you gotta trust your gut and just take this as manipulation for a higher time frame of bearishness, right? So we see those gaps right there, and Dow still didn't take this high. All right, did Dow take it? No. Okay. Okay, Dow took that gap right there, right? You're in higher. Now we're in here, in this gap. Right. And bam. Alright. So this is pretty much our last shot. So it's either enter here, new day opening gap again, or nothing. So let's see what we get. Alright. It looks like we're expanding away. We can enter a short. Our stop loss would obviously be just that same high. And instantly we have to go back in the 5 minute. Alright. Turns out that was a PSP, the previous candle, so it actually worked out pretty well that we dug up and then came lower. At this point, where our 5 minute is all good, right? So now we need to, so we zoomed all the way in, we took our shot, and I have to zoom all the way back out. So obviously the draw is here. So now, once we get below here, all right. So now we can go on the 15 minute. Okay, so our next draw is right here. We have a pullback, and then another pullback, but and then okay, and then more expansion. All right, and let's see what's after that. Do we get to this low? Oh, I think this is current time now, almost. Oh, we do. So eventually we get to that low. Okay, and here is current time. Well, there you go. So pretty much the only possible shot today was really at what time was that? Almost 11 o'clock. So pretty much 11 a.m. So and down to right here. So 4 are our max potential, really. So, but thanks for watching. This is pretty much an overview of how to do a top-down analysis. And as you can see in examples, like in this example today, you would either have to just wait for manipulation to be fully created all the way through AM session, or just call it a day and turn it off.